join me in welcoming Dr. Ndiangui and Dr. Gerono. Good morning. So good to have you both on the show. How are you doing this morning?
We're doing so well, Fiona. We are happy to be here.
Amazing. Happy birthday, Dr. Gerono.
Thank you so much, Fiona. That is so sweet of you. Thank you.
I am so happy to have you guys. So let's start. I'm pretty sure our audience wants to know about you and what you do. So starting with the birthday girl, who are you and what do you do?
Thank you so much for asking me that question. Being that today is a very special birthday, we share with my daughter, Valerie. So you can call me Mama Val. That's what people call me. So I am Valerie and Vianney's mother. I am from Kenya, from Elgeyo Marakwet County. Currently, I'm a professor at North Carolina Central University. I teach kinesiology. I am also the department chair. So I'm a professor and department chair at North Carolina Central. I am also the president of the Kenya Scholars and Studies Association. And I am the CEO and founder of KESID, that is the Kenya Students in Diaspora. Among many other organizations, I'm on the board of Kenya Christian Fellowship. I'm on the board of Kenya Diaspora Council of Elders, Kenya Diaspora Alliance in the USA, and so many others. I just love being a blessing and reaching out to the community and being a community, an active community member. Thank you so much.
That is so awesome. You are definitely a change agent, and I can't wait for us to talk more. Dr. Ndiangui, who are you and what do you do?
Fiona, first of all, let me say I love the way you pronounce my name because not many people do know that. My name is Dr. Peter Ndiangui, and I am from Madakwaine village in Nyeri, Kenya, just on the slopes of Mount Kenya there. It's one of the most beautiful places in the world, I'm telling you. That's where I grew up. That's where my accent and everything else is from. But right now, I'm a professor at Florida Gulf Coast University in Florida, Southwest Florida, in a town called Fort Myers. And that's where I teach. And that's who I am. I am the president of the African Network of Southwest Florida here. I am a member of a committee called Equity and Diversity Advisory for the School District. I'm the chairman of the Fort Myers Mayor's Diversity and the Inclusion Advisory Council. I am also the patron of Malakwaine Elementary School in Mary, and so on and so on and so on. How much time do I have?
And so on and so on and so on. I am so honored to have scholars, change agents, people who are leaders on this show today. We're going to talk about very interesting things with the time that we have. And let's just jump right into it. So while I was doing my research on you both and really looking into what you do, I came across very interesting quotes from you both. And I want you guys to talk more to us about these quotes. Dr. Gerono, I found an amazing quote on your website, and it says, "Use your education and mind to become a change agent for the threats that you encounter. Setbacks in life make you stronger for bigger challenges ahead of you. So don't just complain about your circumstances, change them." That's a very powerful quote. Can you tell us more about it and why it's important?
Thank you so much, Fiona. Again, I forgot to say I'm also a newly appointed commissioner for research and publications at the International Council of Traditional Sports and Games at the United Nations Education, Scientific, and Culture, that is at UNESCO. So awesome. That quote is, and yeah, we are only 5 commissioners in the world, so I represent the USA in making sure that we promote physical activity, we promote exercise, but especially incorporating our traditional sports and games because those played a key role in our life. So asking me that quote is very critical because I believe in being a change agent. You know, I don't know a lot of you, but I've gone through challenges in life, you know, growing up in the village of Elgeyo Marakwet. It was a humble beginning. It was very humble with a lot of challenges, with a lot of lessons that we learned from our parents, from our neighbors. We were raised by the village. But that to me, making through and looking at where I am right now, from a little girl who used to run back and forth to school in the village, and looking at the challenges that I encountered through my life, going through the Kapkoi Primary School, and then I was blessed to be selected to go to a national school at Kenya High School. And then from Kenya High School, I went to Kenyatta University. I mean, from Kenya High School, I went to Loreto Girls Matunda. I went to Kenyatta University. I taught at Kenya Singora Girls, where I trained student athletes and taught, and then taught at Kenya Science very briefly before I came to the United States. When I look at my journey, it's been full of a lot of challenges. I've gone through a lot of challenges, but I've chosen to not complain. Had I complained about what I went through, I don't think I would have been where I am today. So I chose to look at those hardships. And again, if I tell you this, Piano, maybe you can help me to write a book. But I think I can write 2 books. If I mention all the challenges that I went through, going through, growing up in the village, going to a national school as a village girl, and the challenges that we went through, and then the challenges that we went through as young girls, the challenges that I went through in my life, very personal challenges. And even today is a very, very unique, because the way my daughter was born it was a very interesting event there it was life-changing. It could have either ruined my life or let me move on with life. So when I looked at life, I have chosen to celebrate those moments and look at those moments as teachable moments, and to learn from those incidences, to not let it knock me down, because it can easily knock you down. But I chose not to let it knock me down. I chose to look at those as teachable moments, to learn from those circumstances where I had to flee from circumcision. I went through, I was sexually assaulted. I went through domestic violence, all those things that I've gone through at different stages of my life. And then coming to the US, where it was extremely challenging as a Black female, making it through, and then going to school here as a single parent of 2 girls. It was never easy, never easy. At one point, I actually almost gave up in life. But then I looked back at my children, I said, no, I cannot give up on them. So that motivated me to keep going and to be a change agent. Actually, last year, several years ago, I won the Greensboro. I served as a commission on the status of women. So I've chosen those challenges that I went through to be a blessing to somebody else. So I've served as a commission on the status of women in my county here. I was given an award as a change agent last year by the Chamber of Commerce and other voices in Greensboro because of the work that I continue to do in small ways. So you don't have to do big things, but there are little things that you can do in your community. So I've done different things with women and youth, and my passion is with women and youth. And right now, actually, that's where I met up in Dingui, because we realized that there's a challenge with our international students. I came to this country as an international student. It's never easy. I don't know what people don't get it. It's never easy, and especially now what they're going through. So we chose to step up to help the students to be that person they can call, to be that change agent. So personally, moving on, I'm 51. The rest of my life, I have told God, I want to pay back and I want to pay forward. God help me to do so.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for mentioning the challenges that international students go through. We're going to get to that for sure. Dr. Nyangui, I found a quote that you have on your website as well, and it's an amazing quote that I want you to speak about on the impacts of lessons. The quote says, "Sometimes a single lesson can change a person's life. Such was the case for me." So what single lesson changed your life?
Right, thank you for asking that. And when I even think about it, it's very moving. When I was in the village growing up, just like Dr. Delano, your story is so amazing and it is similar. Although we are growing in different parts of Kenya, it's very similar. In the village, I almost felt like we were condemned just to remain in the village. I'll tell you what, I walked 7 miles to school, mainly because there was church oriented and you had to go to school where your parents went to church. The first grade, we were just lighting outside. We had no building. We went in the afternoon. In the second grade, we still went outside. We stayed there. In the third grade, we had a building which collapsed because it rained heavily. I went to the first class in fourth grade, first room. And when you start like that, life moving on is very hard. But as we moved on, right there in the village, there was this lady called Wangari Maathai. She's from the village there. She's from Ihize, and then from Alakoine. They are not too far apart. And she came to the and remember, storytelling was always very common. There's a story now, it is well published, but this is when I had the story. And I'll tell you briefly the nature of the story. There was one big fire at one time, and all the animals looked around. The fire was so huge, there's nothing you can do. But there was this little hummingbird. The hummingbird went all over, decided to say, I'm going to do something. It went, picked a little water, bring it to the fire, then it keeps going back and forth, and then the animals are looking, and they're saying, what do you think you can do? You are so little. You can't put up this big fire. You are so little. And without flinching, the little hummingbird says, I am doing the best that I can. That is the one lesson in my life. And that has stuck to me from the beginning. Always do the best. And at times, the problem can be so huge, just like, I don't know, we're going to talk about it. Dr. Jerome talked about the international students. It's so huge. The needs are so many. But again, like a hummingbird, we are doing the best that we can. And together, if you do like the hummingbird in one corner, the other one in another corner, we will put off that fire of hopelessness. It's amazing. I'm telling you, those kind of lessons can touch you and keep you going. I learned it a long time ago. I had it again when I was teaching in Nairobi. I had it when I'm here. I use it a lot in my classes. It's my quote. I am doing the best that I can. And I know I can always do it, because that one lesson from the late Professor Wangari Maathai, who later on won the Nobel Peace Prize for her Green Belt movement, still sticks to my mind. I am doing the best that I can. Fiona, you do very well what you're doing. You don't know, every one of us, we do the little, just the hummingbird. That's my lesson.
Wow, that is amazing. It seems like you both have overcome a lot of challenges, and it's so honorable to have come this far, to be educators in the US. So before I actually ask you about your experiences of being educators here, let's talk about some of the challenges you've encountered actually transitioning from Kenya to America and becoming educators here. What are some challenges that you can speak to that have actually even made you to be a better educator? We can start with Dr. Gerono.
Thank you so much, Fiona. Again, that is a great question, and it's a question that we need to ask all the time, because it is not easy. It's beautiful. This country is amazing. We have a lot of opportunities, but at the same time, it can be very difficult. It was funny because I first came to the US, I was on a graduate assistantship, and they gave me some of the courses to teach, and some of them I never heard of. So I came to this country. So I came in late because I was, the transition and everything. I came in a little late. So Dr. Ndigui, you can imagine this. When I came in, I saw my schedule. I was a graduate assistant, and they had me teaching biology, human anatomy, and archery. I'm like, what in the world is that? So they had me teaching archery and weight training. I'm like, what? The only weight I lifted is firewood. I don't know what else I did. I was like, what are these weights? What do you do? But I realized, like I said, take the challenge, face it. So there were some Ghanaians. My advisor at that time was a Ghanaian. So there were some Ghanaian students. So I said, hey, I need your help. They've asked me to teach these classes. I have to teach these classes on Monday. I know everything else I can teach but I have no clue what archery is, and I have no clue what weight training is. And we went to the weight training room all night, all weekend. We went through machines. They taught me how to use the machines. We practiced. And then we went outside and practiced archery, the shooting and everything. And trust me, Monday morning I was in class teaching, and you never know that I didn't know what I was doing.
That's amazing.
So I was in KU. I took physical education, and we didn't have weight training. We didn't have a lot of those machines. Yeah, I was at SUNY Brockport. So that to me was the first thing that I had to transition. And then with the computers, we really didn't have a lot of access to computers. So I had to learn quick. And then also when you teach here, you have an accent, and that will never go away. And I'm very proud of my accent. I have my Kalenjin influence, and then my Kenyan. So students say I have an accent, and I always say, hey, you have an accent too. So you got to speak slowly. They're like, you have to speak slow. I say, you have to speak slowly too, because you have an accent. So whenever I was teaching, I made sure that I put the disclaimer. I said, listen, if you don't understand what I'm saying, just let me know. I'll repeat myself. So I went the extra mile to explain myself. I always went the extra mile to give them additional like PowerPoints. I gave them notes so no one can really complain. So those are things that we as personally, what I went through is I had to mile to make sure that I give them this extra work so that no one can complain. Because if you have a student who's going to fail, the first thing they're going to complain, and I see that as a department chair now, they're going to say, well, I can't understand that person. But you know what? They don't say they don't understand that person at the beginning of the semester. But when they fail the course, they're going to blame it on the accent of the professor. They're like, I couldn't understand what they were saying. This chemistry professor, I can never understand what I'm saying. I said, well, you know what? Why didn't you say that at the beginning of the semester? And then we could have switched you. So those are the kind of things that we constantly have to deal with. People look at you and say you are the less. I was in an institution where I was in a department where I have people saying, Africans, we do well here. If you look at African professors across the board, including your wonderful father, Professor Njororai, by the way, who's been a great and amazing professor. So we have, though, we are people who do well, but then you see that Africans are doing very well. Sometimes it doesn't go very well with our brothers and sisters. Yeah, I had a comment, somebody says, oh, these African brothers and sisters make us look bad. So you're dealing with a lot of those transitioning, the accent and then the workload. For me personally, one of the things that I dealt with was having to play dual roles as a parent. And, here we don't have that support system as a parent, everything as a community member, as a community leader. So then what I had to do was I had to put in more work. I knew that I had to do extra. So here, knowing that even when I prepare for my classes, even when I prepare for meetings, I know that people are going to look at me, oh, you have an accent. So you always have to do more to put stuff. In whatever things you do, it's unfortunate. Even when I went up for tenure and promotion through the ranks, when they give you the limit, this is the minimum, you always have to do more. So I always tell people, hey, if this is what they give you, you don't want to give them any opportunity to question or to put you down. So if they say you need a minimum of this, double that. And that's how I've been able to go through. And that's how I've been able to go through with my teaching, because I won the Teaching Junior Excellence Award, Teaching Excellence at the university level. I've won the Community Engagement Award. I've won the Senior Teaching Excellence Award, plus the UNC System Teaching Excellence Award that came with about $14,000, which was good. So the reason I did that was I know that, but I have to do extra. So I always do the extra mile. You have to prove yourself, which is unfortunate, but that's the way it is.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing. Dr. Nyangui, what have been some of your challenging experiences?
Right. Thank you, Fiona. And listening to Dr. Joanna, I can let her go on and on because it's amazing. It's my story too. But I came to this country in a very different position. I was teaching at St. Mary's School in Nairobi. I was teaching International Baccalaureate. And from there, I was appointed to represent Africa and the Middle East in a committee. So people got to know me. So one day I got a phone call to come and teach in Atlanta International School. So I came here as an expatriate teacher. I was not an international student or anything. I came here as a teacher. And I was so excited that I looked at the money. It looked very good and everything was very nice. But then, let me start with what Dr. Gerono just talked about, the accent. Then I realized, oh my God, I think when I hear get my accent. Because what has stuck with me with all my age is that Mother Poignant accent. That accent has been with me, and I was traumatized. How are these people going to understand my accent? I can't even hear what they're saying themselves. So when I was coming, I was like, even my first classes, it was like, I'm going to try. So I actually started trying to talk like them. But the more I tried that, the more I looked stupid and I sounded more stupid. I felt so bad. It took me a bit of time, believe you me. And I was teaching in the high school. It took me some time. I had all those reports like, oh, we love him, he's so great, but I can't hear what he's saying. No use. No use. But it took me some time because I was trying to be like them. I was actually almost, I might say, almost ashamed to have their accent. It took me some time to get it over. And at some point, it was like another aha moment. There's nothing wrong with my accent. I'm as good. If I can't get the German accent or the Swedish accent or the other accent, they too, they have the accent, I have mine. It was a liberating feeling. And I felt liberated, I started being myself. And I assure you, when I felt liberated inside me, I never even got those comments anymore, even the students' evaluation, because I was free. I would do like Dr. Gerono says, tell them, this is who I am, this is my accent, this is where it is from. I don't know where accents are from, but that's mine, and I'm very proud of it. And the students started saying, oh my God, I love your accent, I love your accent. Now it started singing the way out. But I had, Fiona, when the problem is inside you, you cannot overcome it. There's a saying that if the enemy inside you does not destroy you, the enemy outside cannot destroy you. I was my own enemy with that accent. And I want to tell every other African, anybody else, please appreciate yourself, appreciate your accent, be yours. You are not one of them. They got their own accent. And our accent is good. It's beautiful. I live with my children now and we always spoke English. And now later on we thought, why? We got a Kikuyu. It's good language. It's our language. And we felt very liberated. So anyway, quickly, I came to Atlanta and that challenge of the accent was there, but I overcome it. I did overcome it. I felt so liberated. I felt so free. And I'm talking about 20 years later. I'm so proud it has stuck. My children is not, they have changed. But for me, I am so proud that my Mother Koine accent remains what it was. And that makes me unique. That makes me who I am. And I'm telling you, like John, I've gotten awards. I'm the only one in the last school I taught who got the 2 Light Hours Awards. I've been the Educator of the Year here. I've been everywhere. But it started when I felt free. It was freeing to know I am not different. My Kikuyu language is not different from anybody else. It's not an inferior language. My accent is not inferior to anybody. Anyway, I moved from Atlanta 5 years later when I was offered a job to teach in a school called Canterbury. I love Canterbury. It's here in Fort Myers, Florida. And in Atlanta, we were from 70 countries, an international school. Here I was hired as the first Black teacher. After 40 years of the civil rights movement, we were very expensive, very high cost schools. I was the first Black teacher. It took me time. And when the money was good, everything was good, but then coming here as the first Black person, I am telling you, that was even a bigger challenge. That you look around everywhere, you are the only one with this accent, and the kids would follow you like you are unique. But I am telling you, Fiona, that was one of the best decisions I made. Those came so close. And then they realized, oh my God, you've been denying these children for the color of the skin. Stupid. Sorry. For the color of the skin. You deny them an opportunity. And I think I was a trailblazer for many people. And now they can hire more. They hire even a lot more. The Black students started coming in, and we opened the door. That's the time I stopped teaching high school, and then I went on to teach college. College, we are okay, but let me tell you, there are those implicit biases you get every single day. But as I told you earlier on, I am free. I feel good inside. I have something I bring to the table. I'm sure other people have something they bring to the table. I have some strengths, but I'm quite sure I have a lot of weaknesses, and I fight them and I admire to the race that God has set for me. Amen.
Amen. That's amazing. Wow, I already feel so inspired by both of you. You have overcome so much adversity, and I just love hearing that about being free and being able to be who you are, especially since when we come, we deal with a lot of layers and challenges. So we've talked about challenges from the perspective of being an educator. Some of these challenges translate to international students as well. And a lot of people don't really know what international students go through. Let's just talk briefly about some of the challenges that international students, in this case, particularly Kenyan students, face. And some of those challenges, and then we're gonna switch to talk about the recent Trump plan to send foreign students back home. We can start with you, Dr. Ndiangui.
Yes, I think the biggest challenge, remember what I said, mine is the mindset. That's the biggest story. When we are in Kenya, there's a mindset, and I hope you kill that mindset that when you're going to America, you're gonna be so rich, we're just gonna do a little holiday, we'll reach the first money, and then you get there, you will settle down, and they'll start giving you money. People believe in Kenya that when you send a student to America, they have already become rich overnight, and we don't need to keep on bothering. Let's take care of the ones in the villages also are poor. When they get to Texas or they get to Florida or whatever, they'll take care of themselves. That mindset of the community out there. And then the students come up here and the reality hits. No, you have to work only 20 hours. You must maintain 12 credit hours. You get minimum wage. And you can only work in college. And then you have bills to pay. And nobody cares for you because the people at home think you should actually be sending them money. And then you neglect those students, think they're going to give you money. And because you're not sending money, you're not a good child. You don't think about your brothers and sisters. You don't think about your poor families. And you are here struggling. What happens? You start dropping out of school because you don't have enough money to pay and there's nobody taking care of you. You have nobody taking care of you. And then quite often you are alone or you are very few or you are keeping your problems to yourself. You think you're unique. And this is where we are going. Don't hide. Dr. Jerome pointed out, he went through, her story is not unique. That's what we are all going through because we have had those experiences of those students. I have my children here. I have my nephews in the house. I have others who I live with, I bring them here. They're lucky I am here, we'll talk and they're okay. But we need a support system. That is the one thing that is lacking, and that's what we are trying to provide, a support system and telling them, get out. You are not alone. We know very well it takes a village to raise a child. That when the problem, we may not even solve all your problems, but at least when you talk it out, we can probably find ways of getting some help. We'll try to help the best we can, but the greatest help is to tell you, you're not alone, you can do it. We have done it before. This is the way you can do a few things here and there, and you can live. This is still a great, great country, no matter what, and we can make the opportunities and we can help our children to get out of those cocoons. Because what usually happens is they might end up to alcoholism, they might end up to drugs, they might end up to anything, or girls start becoming teenage mothers, or you start getting to issues that can be self-destructive. Because there's challenges here. But people at home need to know they need to continue taking care of these children. And these are not people who become your financial, your banks to get this money. No, they need help. And when they finish, they will help you. But help them to help you. First of all, in those 3-4 years, or whatever number of years they're in school, they need our support. They're not, they are just, don't leave them alone. Don't abandon them, and they'll be there for you. That's what we are trying to do. Send the message, you are not alone, we are together. Here in my college, I am like, they all call me Papa Peter. I am their father. All the kids from Africa, because I'm the president of the African Network. Any little thing, and I've opened the door to tell them, look, you must call me every week, every 2 weeks. If I don't hear from you, I'll come looking for you. I know where they stay, all of them. I know what they do. I look at their grades. I don't care what you tell me. I must know how you're performing. I help them get financial aid. And on the other end, we try to solve problems. And that's what I'm hoping my brothers and sisters listening to this. Please, we are the adults, they are our children. Let's support them. It doesn't matter where they come from. They are our children. They need just to hear your voice. They still need you as a parent. They need the community. They need all of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You've shared some very key points. Support systems are important, but international students don't have enough of those. Kenyans don't. And also, people at home have really high expectations of their family members coming here, that they're going to start sending money as soon as they get here. Money doesn't grow on trees in America. Dr. Gerono, what do you want to add on in regards to the challenges that international students, in this case, Kenyan students, face?
Thank you so much. It's difficult to follow what my brother, Dr. Ndinguye, said, is all that is said. Additionally, on top of that, we have culture. You know, culture here is very different. The way they do things is very different. So you kind of have to get adjusted to that culture. Some of it is culture shock. You know, I remember one time they said, you know, little things could be, you know, very little things could, you know, little things that may mean a lot to you. So the way they do things is very different. I remember one time, this is not even a big deal, but I remember the first time I came here, they're like, oh, for dinner, and we went to these nice restaurants. So in my culture, when people invite you for dinner, you think they're paying, right?
Yes.
I'm like, what in the world? You didn't tell me I had to pay for myself.
Yeah.
So little things like that, there are very little things, like you just have to be very careful and ask questions. Don't just follow the crowd. You know, the weather to me when I came to New York was a big challenge. I was not expecting a lot of snow. That's actually why I moved to North Carolina as soon as I was done with upstate New York. Language, as we've talked about, you got to be prepared for that. Your classmates are going to question you. They're going to turn around and look at you. They're going to say they don't understand you. You got to be prepared. You know, some of us also don't, you know, everything here is done typing. That was one of my challenge. I went to class and the professor said, oh, you have a 5-page paper by tomorrow. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't even have a computer. I don't even have a laptop. I don't even know how to type. What do you mean, a handwritten paper? They're like, type. So I'm like, okay. So those are some of the things. I remember the first time I had to go in and spend the whole night at the library, you know, typing and doing all those things. The other thing is transportation. You got to be aware that when you come into campus, where you stay, you may need transportation to get back and forth. So all those challenges, the key thing there is have connections, connect with people, talk to your international students advisors office, ask questions. Here, we have to really get into the habit of asking questions when they give you an appointment. If it's your coach or whoever, ask questions, stay connected with the community, because more than ever, you will realize that you need everybody. You know, I remember I came into New York and it was tough. There were days I was homeless. I stayed at the YMCA until they closed. The one night, I remember I stayed there all night because it was just not easy. I was in a cold place. It was freezing. I didn't have enough money. You know, when they think they give you a scholarship. People think that they give you money. The scholarship, and I'm talking to the parents, is when your child gets the scholarship, most of it covers food. I mean, it covers tuition and accommodation. But a lot of the basic needs, they don't buy you your soap. They don't buy you your lotion. They don't give you the basic things that everybody needs. So you got to remember that too, that they're going to be things that you will need. And I struggled with that, and I ended up being homeless for a short time. In fact, one of the professors actually who was teaching at SUNY Brockwood accommodated me. He saw me and he picked me up and he took me, and I stayed with him for a while. And I was on a graduate assistantship where they were paying my tuition. They were giving me a stipend, but that was not enough to get a room or to get a house, with that little money. So again, the key thing is their challenge is there, but what Professor Ndimwe and myself we have committed ourselves to help. So we encourage you to connect before you leave the country. Register with the Kenya Diaspora Office in Nairobi. Ask questions when you go to a city. Find out which Kenyan community. We have churches, we have community organization, we have professors. Always ask questions, because most of us and all of us are willing to assist. One other thing that I've noticed is with students who are on athletic scholarship, this is a group that I've done a few things with them. They come in, they want to pursue a certain career. They want to do medical, they want to do nursing, they want to do engineering. But what we found out is a lot of their coaches will steer them to do courses that are less intensive, that are less rigorous. Remember, they're paying for you to go to school. They're giving you your scholarship. So they want you to have time to compete, because to them, if they're not competing, if they're not winning, then they're not marketing their institution. Remember, all these athletic scholarships, it's a marketing tool for the institutions. So therefore, you will be pushed. But when you find yourself in those situations, talk to somebody, because we had a situation of a student who was really good. She wanted to pursue nursing, but the coach would not let her pursue nursing because they said, well, that's going to take a lot of your time, so you will not have time to practice. But we said, no, you are a student athlete, not an athlete student. So the student first. So therefore, advocate. There's a student that I'm working with right now who just transferred to another institution because of the same thing. The coaches were pushing them to either do liberal studies, psychology, sociology, or courses that you can't do anything with those when you graduate from this country. What are you going to do with a sociology? I mean, those are good degrees, don't get me wrong. But I'm saying that in this country, in order for you to get a job, the goal is for you to graduate, get an internship, get a job through your OPT, so then you can get your papers. But if they're pushing you to careers or courses where you're not interested in, talk to somebody. You have a right. You are a student first, then an athlete second.
Wow, so amazing. I wish we had 5 hours. So you both have talked about so many challenges that international students are dealing with, immigrants are dealing with. Recently, the Trump administration came up with a plan to which foreign students were going to be required to go back to their countries if classes were going to be online due to COVID. And we're going to come and talk about the impact of COVID on education. But before then, what added layers of challenges would this have presented if students would have been required to go back to their countries? So think about Kenya. If Kenyan students, foreign students on visas would have been required to go back to Kenya, what added layer of challenges will they have experienced? What will be the implications of this plan? We can start with you, Dr. Gerono.
Okay, that was something that was just unexpected. We're glad that has been stopped, or that has been put on hold, because as it is, our students, when we're struggling financially, because when schools closed in March, international students were not able to work on campus. International students, like Dr. Sandibui said, they can only work 20 hours on campus. I did that. I worked in the cafeteria. I was very good in cleaning dishes. I don't think I became any better. I was very good in cleaning those dishes. And then in the summer, I cleaned the dorms, because that's when everybody's moving, and that was the best job. That's when you actually got 40 hours to clean the dorms, to mow the lawn. So that was how we made money to pay for the extra expenses. But now that campuses were closed, they were not able to work on campus at all. So they had no jobs. Some of them lost their assistantships. So with these added layers, what they were saying was, if your institutions went fully online, then you either had to transfer to another institution or go back to Kenya. One problem is that there's no time to apply to get all the paperwork done to transfer to another institution. As an international student, there's a lot of paperwork. So that was not even going to be an option because they didn't have the time to transfer to another institution. Secondly, if you tell students to go back home, how are they going to go back home? They don't have money as it is. They did not work in March, April, May, so they have not worked the entire time. These international students do not qualify for any financial aid from the government. They do not qualify for any benefits from the government, so they have zero money. Now, unless the parents in Kenya can afford to do that, we have parents in Kenya who can afford to send their children, but not everybody can do that. Mm-hmm. So we have kids who are from families like us, who, like Dingo said, they're depending on us. So like literally they have nothing. They have no money for rent. They have no money for relying on well wishes. They're relying on community members. They're relying on me and you, Fiona. So that was an amazing. So that was creating a lot of unnecessary. That was confusion, anxiety, stress, even for us as faculty, because we got that message. Like I said, I'm a department chair. So now we had to move around all our classes to see, because we went on a hybrid mode where it's 50% online, 50% hybrid. So then we had to look at students and say, we had to go dig for the students and move them from the online to the hybrid. But that doesn't guarantee that everybody's going to get the classes they need. So it was going to create a lot of anxiety because, for example, remember I'm having additional problems too, because a faculty tells me, and I've had several, a faculty, and even me, I can bring a letter from the doctor says no, because of other pre-existing conditions, I cannot expose myself to that. So if you have a lot of faculty who can only teach online, then that means that student is not going to be able to get the classes. And then they are not allowed to take classes that do not count towards their degree. Mm-hmm. So that was a lot of confusion because it was going to, kids cannot travel home, even if they wanted, there are no flights. If their visas were canceled, and it was just a mess. It was a mess. It was a mess. It was a total mess. It was uncalled for. It was a mess. And I'm just glad that this has been put on hold. It still applies to students, though, who want to come. So if you are in Kenya and you've been accepted as an international student, if your institution is going fully online in the fall, then you cannot come. You have to stay there and study online, which is another issue there. Internet is not reliable. That means you have to get up at 2 a.m. if they're doing synchronous. You have to get up at 2 a.m. and go to class. If you need to meet a professor, you have to stay up, you have to get up late. And so it was a lot of unnecessary logistics that was just unrealistic. I'll let Dr. Ndingui contribute to that.
Wow.
Go ahead, Dr. Ndiangui. What are some other challenges that would have been presented?
I can keep on listening to Dr. Selona a lot. But let me just go back to an issue. We were already in a very awkward time, very uncharted waters. We don't know whether it's the professors or the administrators or the students. And we are trying to say it's okay. So luckily, by the end of the spring semester, we were able to learn to Zoom. You know, Zoom, this is the biggest thing that has happened now. We can have classes like we are doing now. Now, that happened. But the other problem, as you have said about our international students, is they are not working anymore. And people don't know, some of those kids were going hungry. They were being thrown out. Luckily, we had to find some apartments where they can stay. Remember, there's still social distancing. And then now on top, we get this announcement from ICE that they cannot take classes. Remember, they are not in total control of what classes to take. Mm-hmm. That's through the advisors, through the intervention office, through the university itself. Harvard, MIT, and many other universities have already declared that all their classes are online. So let's take a student in Harvard. Let's assume that I'd stay. What does that mean? I go home. Travel is very difficult. There's even no money. There's no plan. There is nothing. And even the internet is a problem even at home. So I was one of those people who were very traumatized. Why? Because I had fought for all my classes. I teach 3 classes in the next semester, and I'm so thankful that the university allowed me. All my 3 classes are online. Thank God. And I felt good. But when that announcement was made, I realized, I looked at the class list. I have a number of international students. So I even started feeling guilty that I put them in trouble for having my class moved to online. Now they are still in my class. What do? They started calling me. So I went to the university. But there's something that's very important here. There was a time when it was announced and a time when it was reversed. I want to address that time very carefully. What did the university do? That's where I want the students to address. What did your university do within that period?
Mm-hmm.
When you are told you are going to follow this, what did your university do? Let me give the example of what my university did. The president sent out a letter and said, we will never abandon our international students. We will do everything possible. Relax, leave it to us. We will join other universities. We will do anything, and you will either change the class coding, we will work with the professors to make sure they're either hybrid or face-to-face, but we will never abandon our students. That is the responsibility. That's a good message. Thank you, President Martin. That's my president. Some other universities said it's your problem.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you tell me it's my problem, and all the time everybody says, oh, we love international students, bring more. And when the problem comes, you abandon me? What if another problem? I don't know what will happen. I don't know what the future holds. I am telling the students now who are listening to this. Check that period. How did your university behave? If you are in Harvard, please go to your president and say, thank you so much for fighting. If you're in MIT, the same. If you're in a university like Florida Gulf Coast University, I teach, go to your president and say, thank you. I know you care. It is times when you're in difficulties, when you know who loves you, who doesn't love you. Some universities did not put what they say into action. If you love the university students, you should have considered them. Thank God it's been reversed, but it left a feeling to me. What if another issue comes up? Are you going to abandon me the way you abandoned me? And we got so many. We try to tell them, okay, go and register this way. What is the university doing? Fine, we're not telling them to fight ICE or the government or anybody, but please give them a sense of hope. These children were already being traumatized. Some of them were going hungry. Some of them were getting homeless. They need, I want to say, it will be all right. We overcome this together, rather than abandoning them alone. That is a moment that I learned a lot, and I'm telling the students, check that period, and then I know you cannot change now, but either you address it at the university, do you like us, or do you want us here or not? Or try to look for one who likes you. Thank you.
Wow, that's amazing.
I want to add something to that real quick, Fiona, before I forget. Yes, I want to thank the universities. Like you said, actually, a lot of universities stepped up. I know we had a meeting with our international office. We called all the international students, and then we were trying to figure out how to accommodate. And we said, yes, we're here to support you. We'll work with you one-on-one to move your schedule around. So I want to thank the fact that all the universities were really up and supporting our international students. We appreciate that. I also want to thank the community that in this process, there's still a need. We still have a need, but a lot of our community members, whatever they are, volunteer to host our students. They're hosting students. They are providing. Churches have stepped up. So I want to thank those, but I also want to tell the students that we can't help you if we don't know where you are. We can't help you if we don't know what your needs are. So parents, students who are listening, I know your children, this generation, they want to do their own things. They don't want to associate with the community, but we encourage them that we all need one another. We don't want to get into your business. We just want to know that, hey, how are you doing? You exist, so that if there's a need, I will need help. I need help from I need help from you, Fiona. So we all need each other. So let's stay connected. Let's stay together. Let's stay in touch so that when something like a storm like this comes, then we are together as a community, and we can make, that's where we become change agents.
Wow, I love that. And I know we're almost wrapping up, but two more things that I want to discuss.
Can I add something, Viola, please? I can't let go. Listen.
Okay.
I want to appeal to the government. Let me give the example of what Botswana did. Botswana is paying for a lot of money for their students when that announcement came in. Botswana even offered to pay air tickets for the students who want to go back to Gaborone, to go back home. I'm not saying the Kenya government should do it. The Kenya government did something once when COVID onset, they give a flight fee. But please, through the embassies, and I'm asking the embassy, there used to be bursaries. I don't hear of them anymore. Can we revive those bursaries, please? Council of Governors, because now the governors have the right. Take care of young children. Don't abandon them just because they're in America. Please, President Uhuru and your team, listen to us. These children need you so that they can study and come back and build your country. It's our country, all of us. You need them. Please don't abandon them just because they're in a place you think they are okay. They are not okay. Thank you.
Wow, these conversations are so good. And I know we have to wrap up soon, but I just want to keep talking.
Oh my God.
Let's talk about COVID. How will COVID-19 shift academia and higher education? And also, with COVID, there's so many things that have happened to where the systems have had to shift. Systems like Kenyan education system, I know we are facing a set of challenges there as well. So let's talk about how COVID will shift education, right? But then also what gaps will be created in education systems like our Kenyan education system.
Okay, so I'll go with that. And first is I want to say that COVID has impacted and it has really changed the way we have to do education, and we have to reemerge in our education, the way we teach, the way we do things. One appeal that I would like to make is to the Kenyan government, like my colleague said, is because of COVID, our students who are outside in diaspora have been impacted in so many ways. They are facing daunting financial challenges. I can't speak of what is going on in other countries, but I can speak of what is going on in the US. Now, we are appealing to the Kenyan government because our students in the US are Kenyans. They don't qualify for anything. We are appealing to, like you said, to the Minister for the CS for Education, the governors, the education committee, and the governors, the members of parliament, all of them have an education committee. The Senate, they have an education committee. Can you please find a way to give help to these students? The Kenyan students can apply for the help loans. Those days when we were in Kenya, we took something called Boom. We paid it back. Why can't you give these students access to loans so that in the events when things like COVID come, then they have something to lean back on, then they can take a loan to support them, because right now they really don't. So that is really an appeal, is we have to change how we look at our students. Students are not just students in Kenya. Students are Kenyan students in diaspora, and they need help. I know there is a proposal that is going on, but I'm really appealing to the parliament, to the leaders, to make sure that they give access to the help loans, or to loans, whatever loans that other students access in Kenya, so that our students in diaspora can access. Otherwise, they will be stuck and they will come back to Kenya and they have to figure out how to accommodate them. The other thing is technology. I don't know, a few years back, there was a program where they were supposed to give students laptops and all these things and all this technology. What happened to that? If we had technology, then we would not be dealing with issues just like they're dealing with now. I see the Kenyan education is closed until January. That's a long time for our kids to be away from home. Of course, there's so many things we can do in between that, but if we had those programs in place, then education would continue. In the US, education is continuing because we're able to do, our governor yesterday in North Carolina, we have plan A where students can move in, we have plan B where it's hybrid, and then plan C is where they're totally online. But one way or the other, education will continue and kids will be taught. It may not be as effective, but at least we're doing something. I really wish the Kenyan government would do something for our children, because right now kids are home. The ones who are in the cities, the ones whose parents can afford all those technology, all those resources, can continue to learn. But the ones in the village, like me and Dingu, who grew up in the village, what is going to happen? They will be left behind. They will be left behind because they're staying on all this until next year. They'll have forgotten everything that they did. Also, the other thing that we have to change is, as parents, we have to take more responsibility in children. Education is not just a formal education. There are other ways that we can teach. So everybody has to really come in and teach. We have to figure out how to work together, take some responsibility, maybe as a community, maybe as a people, but whatever is going on, but we have to really rethink and reimagine how we educate. It's not just sending them to the teacher. Yes, we want that. But now that that is not happening, we have to rethink how we want to do that.
Right.
So
perfect. Thank you so much. Dr. Ndiangui, do you have anything to add on the gaps that you see in the education system and then also the impact of COVID on education?
Yes, it's really not gaps, but let me just say this. I wish we could open schools. I want the children is not just learning, because we can do that online about mathematics and history and all that, we can do that, but there's a lot that we do when we socialize together. I wish I can say that. On the other hand, this is a principle in the education system, is part of the code of ethics. The first thing is the safety of the children and the teachers. Safety is before the learning. You cannot teach in an environment that is not safe. Right now, in Florida, last night I was watching the news, they were doing some testing, that 1% of all the children that were tested, 31% were positive. Now, I'm quite sure a number of those students will be in the classroom. And they may be, I don't know what issues are there, but the teachers and everybody else, we are all vulnerable. I don't know what they'll do at the end of the day, and they sympathize with the decision makers, because you cannot fully say keep the children at home, but I have a feeling they will be kept at home because we are in a very difficult area. Let me end up by saying this, that we are in very uncharted waters. Nobody knows. Frustrations and anxiety, we all don't know because we don't know. Understandable. I was happy to have my class online, but then I see the challenges that come about with that. I love meeting my students. I enjoy our relationship. So frustration and anxiety are understandable this time. But I am asking everybody, listen to this, please. Patience and persistence are also required. Sometimes we may say there's nothing I can do. There's something called learned helplessness. We're not going to be helpless, because if I try, I fail. I try, I fail. No, we can do it. COVID or no COVID, it poses a challenge. It's just another hurdle for us to find a way of jumping. We will overcome. Other people have overcome. It's not the first pandemic, but the people who survived will just move on. But for education, let's try to modify the safety of the children in mind. Whatever decision is made anywhere in the world, Kenya or America, please think about the children and the safety of the children as being number one, and the teachers too, of course. Thank you.
Perfect. So I know we're running out of time, so I'm gonna end. I have so many questions I want to ask, but let's just bring this session to an end, and maybe in future we can do another segment where we really talk about, I'm really passionate about mental health, and that's one thing we really haven't covered. And 2020 has been such a heavy year, and I would want us to have a segment where we talk about mental health and give resources to our young people so they can continue to survive. But I want to end by asking you guys, what has 2020 taught you? Because we've had so many challenges already. What have you learned from this year? Dr. Ndiangui, what has 2020 taught you?
Patience, persistence, and my relationship with God. I pray a lot more. Anytime I get out, I pray more for many people. I have come to realize sometimes we have no power in some of these things that I took for granted, working out. Now I don't go out as often. I don't meet people as often. I have learned to be patient. I've learned to love my family a lot more because I live with them a lot more. My wife is very special to me and my children. We have discussed a lot. We talk a lot of more serious stuff, but I've learned to be patient. I've learned to love other people. I have cried when some people have died, when some people have come, but I've learned. There's also the Black Lives Matter. Maybe we'll talk about that one day. I have also learned that I have a place here too. And we're fighting in that, and we'll talk about that one day. But Fiona, because this is our statement, you do your job very well. You're just such an amazing daughter of Dr. Jorai. Tell him we thank him for the work he has done at Kenyatta University and anywhere else. He's an amazing man, but the most amazing part of it, he did a very good job listening you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Gerono, what has 2020 taught you?
Thank you. Can you hear me, Fiona?
Yes, we can hear you. What has 2020 taught you?
Yes, thank you so much. I think what I've learned the most is resilience. Difficult that we cannot overcome. Like I say, challenges should not set us back. You're moving. So we have to continue to work together as a community. Together we can go far. We have to be resilient and we need each other. Like I said, we stand here today because of great people like Professor Jorai and Jorai. So thank you. And now let's continue to support one another. Those who are here in the US, we need your support to help the international students. And thank you so much for having us in this show, and we look forward to many more opportunities.
Thank you so much. We definitely have to do a part 2. I'm going to have you guys again very soon so we can keep these conversations going. But I've had an amazing time talking to you, talking about things that matter, and also having conversations that we don't really talk about. A lot of times our international students are invisible. So I'm glad we've centered our international students today. And these are conversations that need to keep going. And just briefly, are there any resources that you want to share that our international students, particularly Kenyan students, should be aware of? Dr. Ndiangui, do you want to share some resources?
Yes. I want them to know that there are universities that care. Florida Gulf Coast University is a very good university that we support, and other universities that support. Look into universities that will support you. KESID, the Kenya students in the diaspora, the one Dr. Gerono is the president. We are trying they can apply for some help from there. We should also look at all the resources available. The embassy is pretty good, by the way, in giving some of those resources available. Please check into the scholarships. There are many scholarships that you can apply to, but you have to take time and apply them. You have to do the research for yourself. Don't be lazy. Do it. You can get it. And you don't have to spend too much money here when you can get some money. But we wish you well. We want to the community, please. I know some people have been taken advantage of sometimes. This is about your children, and together we'll overcome. It's not as big as it appears. A problem, that is.
Thank you so much. Dr. Gerono, are there any resources or platforms that you want to bring to the attention of current or future potential international students?
I just want to let them know that they need to register with the Kenya Diaspora. There's an organization, there's an office in Nairobi where it's always good for them to register. When they get to the US, it's always good for them to register with the Kenyan Embassy. They need to join organizations such as KESID, Kenya Students in Diaspora. We are on WhatsApp, we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter. We are here to just mentor, support, and guide you and leverage the resources that are in this community. We've been there, we've done that. It's like in the USA, been there, done that. So we're here to help you. If you need help, reach out to us. We are volunteer our time to pay back and pay forward to help you. Also connect with your community. Connect. I cannot overemphasize that. Stay connected. We love you. We don't hate on young people. We love you. We're here to support you. We're here to network, to learn from one another. The embassy has been amazing. I want to give kudos to the embassy. Ambassador Gasheru has done an amazing job reaching out to us and connecting us to the Kenyan government. We want to thank him, and we want to welcome the new ambassador, Mayo, and we look forward to working with the embassy. We really need the support from the Kenyan government. Don't just let our students get on the plane and don't look back at them. They're still Kenyans. They want to come back and build our nation. So let's continue to support them as we do our part here in diaspora. Thank you so much, Fiona. We appreciate you. You are an amazing, amazing, amazing person. Thank you.
Thank you so, so much. And enjoy your birthday today.